The land explored by our ancestors extends from the Altai to the White Sea. The scientific expedition, Trails of Nomads, continues to unveil the path of our forefathers. A group of scientists led by pilgrim of the 21st century, Saparis Kakap, has already visited more than 50 countries. Scientists reveal the exciting secrets of the past. Watch an amazing story of a great journey on Trails of Nomads program. Today's Trails of Nomads episode presents: what mosque has a tribune made by order of Sultan Baybars? How did Baybars punish the Emir of Mecca, who took cattle and property from pilgrims? Who led the Meccan police, and why was he called the second Baybars? Such eminent Mamluks, immigrants from Deshta Kipchak as Kutus, Baybars, Kalawun, made a great contribution to the development of Egypt, Israel, Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, as well as the prosperity of the Islamic religion. It was the Kipchak sultans who were able to repulse the Crusaders and the Mongol conquerors. It was they who guarded sacred for all Muslims, Mecca and Medina. They annually changed the black canvas on the Holy Kaaba. It was they who built numerous mosques on this land and repaired the Holy Al-Quba temple, erected by the Prophet Muhammad. Having completed their research in Egypt, the participants of the scientific expedition Trails of Nomads arrived in Saudi Arabia to find out the details of these events. As you know, a Muslim has 5 responsibilities, and one of them is a pilgrimage. Everyone should at least once in his life go to the land of the Prophet Muhammad, the sacred Mecca and Medina. The history of the pilgrimage to Mecca dates back to the Deshta Kipchak period. At that time, the people of Golden Horde actively converted to Islam, especially during the reign of Berke Khan. Sultan Baybars was considered the main preacher. He managed to establish close partnerships with his historical homeland and establish an alliance with Khan Berke against the Mongol conqueror Hulagu. The ties of Egypt and the Great Steppe became stronger. The rulers of the two countries sent ambassadors to each other and checked their plans. In the mosques of Mecca and other Arab cities, people prayed for Baybars and Berke and always pronounced their names. All these events contributed to the strengthening of Islam in the steppe, which was subsequently fixed at the state level in Golden Horde.
Берке хан өзі тірі кезінде Батудың салып кеткен қаласы Saray Batu'dan Astana'na.
Berke Khan moved the capital of the Golden Horde from Saray Batu to Saray Berke. Berke believed that his capital should be better than the former one built by Batu Khan. Therefore, he attracted masters from around the world to this. There were many of them from Egypt.
Соған кірістірді, оның ішінде Египеттен де болды, көп құрылысшылар.
Berke Khan was a true Muslim who defended and preached his faith. The canons of Islam were at the core of his local and international policy. As the Egyptian historian Al-Omari wrote, Berke Khan was initially against of his brother Hulagu's idea about the conquest of the Islamic Caliphate. Berke, who supported Batu's policy to preserve the integrity of Golden Horde, interfered with his brother Hulagu's aggressive plans. After the death of Batu, Hulagu, having conquered the South Caucasus, Iran, and Iraq, created the Elkhan state. At this time, Berke Khan became the ruler of the Golden Horde. Defending the interests of Muslim countries, he initiated a confrontation with Hulagu. In 1262-1263, a decisive battle took place near Derbent, where the army of Golden Horde completely defeated the army of the Elkhan state. This event temporarily stopped the Mongol invaders who threatened Arab countries. In 1265, after the death of Hulagu, he was replaced by Abagan, who established diplomatic ties with the Golden Horde. Khan Berke, taking advantage of this, built a mosque in Tabriz. Thus, he contributed to the expansion of Islam.
Al-Nasr Muhammad, бұл Қалауының баласы, 1265 жылы 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 1265 жыл Бұл да сол кездегі саясатты жалғастырды.
An-Nasr Muhammad is the son of Kalawun, and he continued the policy of his predecessors and father. He developed ties with Golden Horde, which was then ruled by Ozbek Khan. Under Ozbek Khan, Saray Berke developed rapidly. Mosques were built everywhere. Even then, there were more than 30 large and about 100 small mosques in it.
Өзі сол 30-дан асқан екен сол кезінде. Ал енді кіші мешіттерді алатын болсақ, олар 100-дің сыртында.
Mecca is a unique place on earth. In this city, even bad thoughts are already considered a great sin. And if the thoughts are pure, even the greatest sinner here can be cleansed. This is truly a holy place. However, there have been many vague periods in history when danger loomed over the city. In 1260, the Hulagu army intended to capture the cities of Mecca and Medina. The Arab historian Ibn al-Asir wrote, "With this campaign, the Mongols intended to intimidate the entire Islamic world. Their army was stronger than ever, and there was no enemy who could fight back. They conquered Baghdad, subdued the Abbasid Caliphate. Next in line were Mecca and Medina. A real threat hung over the entire Muslim world. All the faith of the believers was in the Kipchak Mamluks. Then Qutuz ruled Egypt, and Baibars was the commander of the army." On the battlefield, the army commander Baibars threw a battle cry in the ranks of the Mamluks. Egypt is the support and defense of the entire Islamic world. Therefore, we will fight to the last breath. Religion also gave strength to Sultan Qutuz. Even during the battle, he could jump off his horse and begin to pray. Strong faith lifted the spirit of warriors. It was thanks to this spirit that the Mamluks defeated the Hulagu's army, which did not even reach Hijaz. After the defeat of the Mongols, the Crusaders began to be wary of the Mamluks and considered them as a serious adversary. The victory at Ain Jalut radically changed life in the Arab states. Kipchak Mamluks interrupted the ongoing series of campaigns of the Mongols and Crusaders. They saved and preserved the holy Arab cities of Mecca and Medina. This is mainly thanks to outstanding statesman and commander Baibars. He always solved all social issues based on Sharia and military strategy. He was guided by the steppe law Jasak. Authoritative people gathered during councils to solve problems and disputes. Great scientists including Izzuddin ibn Abdussalam were among them. Baibars' policy was primarily aimed at uniting people.
Sultandардың жанында мәжіліс болды.
Sultans controlled specially created majalis. Rulers had always listened to their decisions. This was one of the indicators of democracy.
Бір түрде айтуға болады, сол кезіндегі.
Even now, the path from Cairo to Mecca is not a short one. The road will take about a day by car. Under Sultan Baibars, communications between states worked quite quickly. The so-called emergency mail Barid worked. The most trained warriors were selected in this unit. They could deliver a letter to the capital from any end of the country in just 3 to 4 days. At certain stretches of the road, there were stations for changing horses. Everything was delivered personally to the hands of Sultan Baibars. Such an effective communication system has contributed to ensuring stability in the region, which was complicated by the threat from the Mongol invaders.
Демократиялық жағдай болды деп айтуға болады. Өйткені ол кезінде сұлтандарды
It can be said that there was democracy because in those days the sultans were elected from among the emirs. This honor was given to the most fair and respected ones.
адамдар ғана сұлтан бола алды.
The strengthening of royal power in the Arab countries began during the reign of the Mamluks. They became famous for creating a fair society. They defended the interests of the people. One of the evidence is the fact that Sultan Baibars revealed the criminal acts of the ruler of Mecca, Abu Numai, who seized property and cattle of the Egyptian pilgrim and then killed him. Upon learning of this, Baibars did not make hasty decisions. He acted very wisely and patiently, sending a letter to the Meccan ruler. A bad act is bad in itself. And if this comes from the family of the Prophet, then this is doubly bad. Likewise, a good deed in itself is already good. If it comes from the family of the Prophet, then it is doubly good. I heard rumors that you committed a crime, shed the blood of a pilgrim, whom Allah humiliates. There will be no one who will return respect to him. If you do not know the limits, I'll take your grandfather's saber out of the scabbard against you." So said Sultan Baybars. Everyone would think after such words. Abu Numay admitted his mistake. He asked for forgiveness and indemnified for his crime. Sultans Baybars and Kalawun were among those who made sure that just rulers were elected in the Arab countries, and the people had a decent standard of living. Special law houses were formed where various disputes of residence were resolved. In those days, it was strictly forbidden to drink alcohol, tobacco, to engage in prostitution. The discipline was very strict. Kaaba is washed twice a year with clean sacred water, Zamzam. This occurs in the first Muharram and the 8th Shaban months according to the Muslim calendar. Muharram month begins immediately after the pilgrimage, and Shagban begins before the month of Ramadan. The washing ritual is based on the words of the Prophet. It is attended by the King of Saudi Arabia and guests of honor. In a special way, the world witnesses the change of the cloth covering the Kaaba. This happens once a year on 9th or 10th day of the Dhul Hijjah pilgrimage month. A cloth 41 meters long during the period of the Prophet Muhammad was made in Yemen, later in Egypt. After Abdul Aziz ibn Saud founded Saudi Arabia and became its king, he founded a special factory on which they sewed a cloth for the Kaaba. In the Middle Ages, the honorary right to change the cover of the sacred Kaaba belonged to the Kipchak sultans.
1258 жылы Хулагу Багдад қаласын алып, ондағы халифатты құлатқаннан кейін Султан Бейбарс
In 1258, Hulagu captured Baghdad and destroyed the caliphate. Sultan Baybars transferred the caliphate to Cairo. After that, Baybars was awarded the highest authority and title in the Muslim world. Everything that was held in the mosques of the holy cities of Mecca and Medina was under the supervision of the Mamluk sultans.
Mamluk sultandардың қарауында болды.
In Saudi Arabia, as in Egypt, the people very highly appreciate the contribution of the Kipchak sultans to the country's development. They consider the time of their reign a golden age. Sultan Baybars was called the Lion of Islam. During the Mamluks period, economy, culture, and religion developed in medieval Arab countries. Mosques, madrasas, fortresses, canals, and bridges were built. Reconstruction of ancient buildings and structures was also carried out. Among them is the main mosque of the world, Al-Haram, with the Holy Kaaba in the center. The tribune, carved from stone by order of Sultan Baybars, had been in use in this holy place for many years. Now it stands in a place of honor in the Mosque of the Prophet Al-Quba in Medina.
Бұл мешіт Құба мешіті деп аталады. Бұл ислам дініндегі ең бірінші мешіт.
This mosque is called Quba. This is the first mosque in Islam. Our Prophet, peace be upon him, built this mosque upon his arrival to Medina from Mecca. Now its area is huge. The Prophet Muhammad built Al-Quba Mosque when he moved from Mecca to Medina. This is the world's third largest mosque after the Al-Haram Mosque in Mecca and Al-Aqsa in Jerusalem. The prayer read here will be heard 1,000 times faster. In 1275, the Al-Quba Mosque suffered a fire. Then Sultan Baybars sent 35 masters for reconstruction from Egypt, and Sultan Kalawun for the first time built a dome in the Mosque of the Prophet. Another important point is the Quran made during the reign of the Mamluk Sultans. Baybaris Al-Jahangir ordered it in approximately 1304-1306. All the words in it are written in gold letters. In 1858, this unique Quran was purchased by the British Library. Since then, the holy book is kept in London.
London'da saklaulu.
Each pilgrim necessarily takes the sacred water Zamzam and dates from Mecca to his homeland. This tradition was popular in the Middle Ages. Sultan Baybars once sent Arabian fruits, plants, and animals to his friend Khan Berke. The historian Ibn Abd al-Zahir wrote about this in manuscripts. It is worth noting that under the Kipchak Mamluks, special attention was paid to agriculture and production. Huge territories were reserved for date gardens. Some of them exist to this day.
Құрман несін көп нәрсеге пайдаланған. Мысалы, мына ағаштарын көрдіңіз ғой. Соның неге отқа пайдаланған.
Date trees were used very widely, for example, for heating. Leaves were used in construction for roofing houses. Down was used for bedding.
Ал мынау ішіндегі былай көрсеңіз, соны көрпешеге пайдаланған. Көрдіңіз бе? Шамақ кішкентай жаңа. Оны көрпеше, жастық сондайға пайдаланған.
Most likely this is the power of genes, but history knows many cases when our compatriots managed to survive and not break despite all adversities. One of them is Shaken Kaji Sarriuli. He was born in 1927 in the Shingil region of the Altai area of China. At 13, he was taken by the Dungan merchant Mafu Fan and was sold into slavery. So he was sent to Saudi Arabia, where he gained authority through his work. He was called the Second Baybars. He led the police in Mecca.
Жетім бала ретінде оқиды, және елдің көзіне түседі. Бұл ең алғашқы еңбек жолын мынау көше сақшысы деп қойды ғой.
He studied like an orphan and he was noticed. He began working as a security guard in 1951. After he was a border guard. For excellent successes in work, he was awarded a number of state awards.
Еңбек көрсеткеннен кейін бұл кісі мемлекет тарапынан марапатталып ордендерге ие болған.
Arabian people called Shaken Sarriuli Abdullah Kaji. He died in 2000 at the age of 73 in Jeddah. It is a holy city. Here is the grave of Hawa Ana, the mother of all mankind, who was the wife of the first person on earth. The city is called Jeddah, which in Kazakh means Ajay, that is, grandmother. The participants of the scientific expedition collected the necessary information about their authoritative compatriot.
Shaken
Sarriuli had 3 sons and 5 daughters. Sons Faisal, Adnan, and Adil. Adnan is a pilot. He works in the aviation industry of Saudi Arabia. This photo was taken in the city of Jeddah in 1929. Next to Prince Faisal is a Kazakh. This is Nazir Torikulov, who from 1928 to 1936 was the plenipotentiary representative of the Soviet Union in Saudi Arabia. First, he worked as a consul, later he became ambassador. He made a great contribution to the development of diplomatic relations between the two countries. He also defended the interests of Muslims, supported the Alash movement. The respect and honor of Nazir Torikulov in Saudi Arabia was so high that after the Soviet Union sentenced him to death, the Arab country severed relations with the USSR. The king of Saudi Arabia respected Nazir Torikulov. He always occupied a place of honor at all meetings and councils. Arabs have great respect for the Kazakh people. In Saudi Arabia, the scientific expedition team visited one of the camel farms. Its owners welcomed Kazakh scientists with great hospitality. This man is the father, and this guy is a son. These are relatives. Today we're visiting them. They were very happy when they found out that we were from Kazakhstan and showed us great honor.
10 ғасырда Қыпшақ мамлюктердің күллі араб елін түгел басқарып тұрған, оның ішінде Сұлтан Бейбарыс, Сұлтан Қалауын.
When we asked them if they knew about the Kipchak Mamluks, who ruled all the Arab states in the 13th century, in particular about the Sultan Baybar, Sultan Kalawun, they seemed to be surprised. They told us about their great respect and gave us a warm welcome. And now they are going to cook the meat of the best camel, the price of which is from $1.5 to $5 million. This is a sign of great respect to our ancestors. Kazakhs have a saying, a good father can feed a bad son for 100 years. But then I thought that good ancestors could feed their descendants for a millennia.
Жаман балаға 100 жыл азық дейді. Соларда тұрғанда мен ойладым. Жақсы бабаларымыз артында қалған ұрпақтарына 1000 жыл азық екен деп.
Mankind has entered a new stage in its development. However, the future is vague, and now it's hard to predict what the world is facing. There's growing competition and conflicts of interest, particularly the confrontation between the so-called superpowers. The expedition members believe that studying the history of their ancestors will only contribute to the solution of many issues.